All right. Welcome. Does everybody have a first day handout? Cool. We're going to get started because we have no time to lose. This is EMT class. If you're looking for a different class, you're probably in the wrong spot. Just making sure we're all in the right place. All right. Turn on the lights so it's a little easier to see. All right, EMS 1001 at the COS Wheaton campus. So a couple things to go over before we get started. Throughout life, you're going to have a lot of emergencies, whether you do this or not. And you're going to face adversity. You're going to have people say negative things about you. You're going to have people write things and post things on social media negatively about you. And if you're taking this class, you're going to fail more times than you can possibly imagine. We do things again and again and again and again and again and again, and we fail, we fail, we fail until we become perfect. You can do this without thinking about it. So you're gonna have to get used to failure. You're gonna have to learn how to accept it and how to move forward and how to get better each time you fail. Every time that you face adversity, negativity, or failure, you're gonna have choices of action, how you want to deal with that. How you deal with negativity, failure, and adversity is what's going to make or break you in your career in emergency services, whether it's fire, law enforcement, or emergency medical services. It doesn't matter. Your actions will decide how things go for you. You're not going to be able to control what other people say, what other people do, and what other people act. You're not going to be able to control team members that are weak team members that aren't very good. You're going to have choices to blame other people for your failures, or you're going to learn how to adapt and overcome and get better. And become better after each time you have something that happens. The biggest thing is that last bullet. At the end of the day, you're responsible for your own actions. It doesn't matter what anybody else did. But your choice to do what you did after that happened, after that failure, after that adversity, after that negativity, is what makes or breaks you, and that will be 100% on you. Nothing that anyone else says or does makes or breaks what you decide to do. Your decisions are yours, and you always have the choice. Is that clear? Yes. If you get that concept down, and you stick with me to the end of this class, you will be able to do a very good patient assessment, know how to treat people and save lives. All right, next thing is your best going to be good enough? I get that question constantly, especially in this class. The answer is your best effort doesn't accomplish the goals you wanted, or if it didn't reach your expectations, you better get used to that because they're not. It's going to be okay. Here, grab it. Hey. Come on here. So, your BFS didn't accomplish that. That's okay, as long as you learn from it and you step forward and you get better and you move on to plan B. If you shrug your shoulders and say, "Oh, well, I did my best," and leave it at that, your best isn't good enough because it's a failure. It's okay to fail, but you got to improve and you got to build on the failure. You got to move forward. You got to be better. Doesn't matter if that was your best effort. Your best effort's not good enough. You got to learn how to get better, and you will. So these viewpoints and attitudes are critical to you becoming a successful emergency services worker. Any questions? All right, let's get started. Preparation is everything. You have to be prepared. Doesn't matter how good you are, how fantastic you are with EMT when you get out of this class. If you're not prepared, you don't have your equipment set, you don't know how your equipment works, you don't know your area, you don't know exactly what you're doing, you're going to fail, and your patient's family will suffer. So preparation is everything. Same goes for this class. You've got to read the book. You've got to do the practice exams before class. You cannot wing it by coming in here, listening to lectures and sitting here. It's not gonna work. We're stepping it up this semester. In the past, I've required just you take at least one of the practice exams for each chapter at least once. What I found out is the people that were failing this class were taking it once, getting like 1 or 2 right out of 10. They were putting the effort in. So what we changed it to is you got to have a minimum of an 8/10 on each practice exam for each chapter that's due, that's on your first day handout before that class. If you don't, you'll lose a point off your next exam. You get unlimited tries on practice exams. You can take them as many times as you want. My recommendation is that you take them as many times as you possibly can. Take them until you get consistent 10 out of 10 scores on them. They're 10 questions each on the practice exams. They're taken from a random number of questions from test banks that I have on the internet. There are literally thousands of questions. The more times you take these tests, and all same thing, all these test questions are not about right or wrong answers. They might give you 4 right answers, they might give you 4 wrong answers. But they're teaching you how to do, and what we're teaching you how to do is to take those questions, rule out the worst answers, and make the best choice possible. It's all based on critical thinking skills. That's what we're trying to teach you. Any questions? All right. I'm Brian Witherell. You're stuck with me for the next 170 hours, hopefully. Some of you might not be, if you don't like it. There's my phone number. It's also on the first day handout. You can try and call me anytime. I may not answer. If I'm with a patient, I work over 100 hours a week, managing the 3 stations of Mount Shasta Ambulance, plus I teach here. And actually, you guys are lucky because paramedic won't start till after this class is done. So at least we'll have those separated. You can call me or email me or text me. I will get to you as soon as possible. If you want a first day handout. You text me, tell me who you are. Just no random phone number, especially with 30 new students. But anyway, don't call Mount Shasta Ambulance. There's no chance in hell you'll ever get a message through to me. It's just not going to happen. They're not going to know where I'm at any given point of the day or night. So my cell phone is probably going to be the best time. I'm going to try to set aside Mondays from 5 to 6 to have a dedicated time for this class. 5 to 5:30 will be on the phone, and then 5:30 to 6 I'm going to be here in person. That is my plan. Now, emergencies to the county might change that, but that's the plan for right now. You guys can call me anytime. I'll do my best. Any questions so far? All right. Felony conviction. If you already have a felony conviction, there's a good chance that you will not be able to certify as an EMT. They make me tell you this at the beginning of the class because we used to have people go through this entire class and get done and pass and do great, and then find out they can't be an EMT. Certification, that's not saying that you can't be one, but if you have one, you're gonna have to apply to a review board. It's gonna be different than someone who doesn't have a conviction. They just go right in after they pass the test, pay all the money. You're gonna have to go for a review board, explain why you got your felony, why you're not a risk to the public, and why you should be allowed to be at people's houses and inside the most vulnerable point of their lives. That's why they don't let felons be EMTs. So if you have one, they want to look into making sure that you can get through a review board at the end of this class. Any questions? That said, the other big thing is don't drink and drive while you're taking this class. I can't tell you how many people have taken this class and right at the end of the semester gotten arrested for drunk driving. If you were a fresh, brand new arrest for drunk driving, you're not getting your EMT license. I can tell you right now. Not up to me. State of California and probably National Register, either one will give you a certificate. You're only going to do it at least 5 to 7 years. And then go through a review. Any questions? Believe me, I went to college here too. Yeah. I love to drink also, but don't drink and drive. It will cost you dearly. If you want to do this for a career, it's up to you. National Registry even will deny service if they find out you have a DUI. If it's 2 or 3 years old or 4 years old, you probably just have to go through a review board. They'll probably let you through. It'll just cost you a lot more money and a lot more time. Any questions? At the end of this class, you'll be eligible to take the National Registry test. It's very important to remember. National Registry is not an EMT certification. There's a private company that shows that you met testing standards. There is no national EMT. It doesn't exist. EMT is a state certification. So after you pay National Registry money to get your card from them, then you got to go to the state that you want to be an EMT in, then pay the state again. And then also pay them usually for a live scan of background check. Any questions so far?
Whenever you move states, you have to.
Yep.
Every single.
Yep. It's called bureaucracy.
Okay.
So, first objective is to develop and upgrade the skills of your students to make you the highest possible performing EMT that we could possibly make you. And to make it so that you can pass the National Registry test. If you can't pass the National Registry test when you cut down this class, then you have completely failed. As of this point, in the last 10 semesters of people that have passed this class, I only have one student that could not pass the National Registry test out of this class. So if you make it through this class and pass, and you take it within the first 2 weeks of passing this class, that's also critically important. The longer of time between the end of this class, you take your National Registry test, it all floats out of your head. Any questions? So once you get your National Registry, then you got to go to the state you want to be an EMT in. Good news is you don't have to retake the test. You just pay them more money. They'll give you. Every state has a different scope of practice of what you can and can't do. Any questions? Attendance. This is probably the hardest part of this class in my opinion. Title 22, which is state law, California law, requires that this class, every student in this class to pass, has to have a minimum of 170 hours in this class. The college, it's only allows me 180 hours classroom day. So you can only miss a total of 2 classes. Or 1 all-day class, 4 all-day classes. We're gonna have 2 weekends, we're gonna do all day Saturday and Sunday. You miss one of those days, or you can miss a total of 2 of the night classes. I don't make these rules. I don't even like the state of California rules. I have no say in it. This is what these are the parameters that we're squeezed into. So I strongly encourage you not to burn your 2 classes, save them. You will have personal emergencies in the next 8 weeks. Something will happen to you. If you just blow off your classes, you say, oh, I can miss 2, and you burn that second one, and then you get a flat tire, or you have a relative suddenly goes into labor or a family emergency, you're done. Doesn't matter if you have a family emergency, doesn't matter. You got to be here for 170 hours. So don't burn those 2 classes. You have to be here. So we do a double roll call to make sure that everybody's here. We used to have a problem here before I took over. It was kind of a joke. People would come for lecture from 6 to 8, go to break at 8 o'clock, everybody come back for skills, nobody come back for skills. The instructor would just leave. It was all good. They had a horrible success rate. So what I do is at 10:30 at night, before you go home, I do a second roll call and we make eye contact. I make sure you're here. Then you can go. If you have left before that point, that's fine, but you don't get credit for that night's class. It counts as a missed 4.5 hours. Any questions? I know it's hard. I wish it wasn't that way personally. I have no say in it. I'm just an employee. I just settled that. Any questions? Participation is mandatory. So this is the way this class works. We do a lecture from 6 to 8 o'clock where I lull you to sleep by talking and slides and maybe some videos that hopefully you'll find entertaining. then we go to break for 10 or 15 minutes, 8 o'clock. We come back, and this class has an amazing support from the community, from local fire departments, ski patrol, Mount Shasta ambulance, Forest Service, Cal Fire. People come in on their own time to help us with skills. And we do skills for 2 hours a night, every night. And we do it again, and we do it again, and we do it again, until we get you to the point that by when Halloween comes and you're done with this class, a lot of you are gonna go to Fire Academy. You'll be able to roll out of bed from the dead sleep at 3 o'clock in the morning and do whatever needs to be done to save somebody's life. That's why we do it the way we do it. But you're not gonna be able to do that if you're over here in the corner going. Got to be in there, hands-on, doing it again, and again, and again, and again. And you are going to fail thousands of times in this class. Because the theory of this class is, haven't had enough coffee. I'll tell you the theory when I remember it. An amateur practices until they get it right. A professional practices until they can't get it wrong. They just had to give it a crack at the can. Fires. I love to go on fires. Structure teams are fun. Sort of structure fires. If there's a fire and you miss class, you miss those hours. Nothing I can do about it. Can't go, oh, it's okay, state of California. They're on fire, it's all right. They don't care. Is what it is. I will tell you though, being a firefighter for over 40 years, there will be more fires. If you miss one because of class, there's gonna be another one. Any questions? And yes, there are people that have taken this class 7 times because they missed it with fires. Yes.
So there is no excuse for missing class?
No, there's no excuse. You get 2 classes to miss. It's only 2, don't waste them. However you want to burn them. I suggest you don't. Save it to the last 2 and skip the final, then you don't have to take the final. That's a joke. I'm kidding. You have to take the final. Don't give me a trouble. I need at least a couple more years before I get fired. Any questions? All right. That's 2, not 3. I went through this today. I thought I updated everything. Any questions on missing classes? All right. The cool thing you asked about the excused absence is just like we were talking about with your skills and the tests and all that stuff. It doesn't matter why you failed or why you missed. Just got to make sure that you make it better in the end. Bottom line is it happened. Most people don't mean to run children off the garbage trucks, but they do. That's what we do afterwards. All right, skills. We already went over that. Any questions? Very important. You guys are doing the skills on each other. You're doing patient assessments on each other. You're packaging each other. You're putting splints on each other. It's extremely important that you bathe and wear clean clothing and deodorant. Otherwise, things are gonna get real uncomfortable. Clean socks. We take shoes and socks off too. We have to test for distal pulses. Saying that you tested for a distal pulse and never actually touching someone's foot, feeling that pulse will not make you a good EMT. Anybody can talk, you can do. Any questions? All right. Again, we're extremely blessed with volunteers that come in. You'll start seeing them come in at 8 o'clock. We've already got one here tonight, blended in the class as a spy for you guys. Any questions? So there will be miscommunications. We have different instructors from different agencies. Everybody does things a little bit different. But the bottom line is if you're told conflicting information, come to me. I will give you the correct answer because I'm the one that's going to be giving you the test. So I know what the correct answers are. It doesn't matter what somebody else doesn't matter what I say. If you want to pass. And I will get things straightened out with the instructors. So yeah, so if you get conflicting information, don't sweat it. Come to me, tell you got conflicting information. It's usually a misunderstanding. I'll get it corrected and I'll make sure that you know what the correct answer is. Okay? That's what I just said. Any questions? All right, so this is a cool part of the class. I think it's the coolest part of this class. Starting tonight, we're gonna learn the basic skills, how to do airways, how to put oxygen on, things like that. We're gonna teach you guys how to put some spinal compressions, how to put splints, how to stop bleeding, all that stuff. And we're gonna start slowly teaching you guys how to do patient assessment each night, just little bits. Because if we hand you the entire big long patient assessment, so people freak out, it's just not good psychologically. So we're gonna take you to small bites, and you memorize it in small bites. But anyway, once we get through all that, about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we're gonna start what's called team events. And this will be the first time in years we actually have multiple teams. I mean, wow. We've been down to around 18 people in a class. This class is 35. 29. Like that. Probably about 22 of you after lunch. I'm just kidding. But you never know. So anyway, what we do is the teams compete against each other. The team that completes it without failing first gets 20 points. And we do literally endless scenarios until 10 o'clock at night. The team that gets the most points tonight gets a bonus 100 points. All teams have to have 1,000 points by the end of the semester to pass the class. I've never had someone not pass because of points. Usually at the end, we'll get it. Even if we have to wait till the last night of class, we'll stay here with you until you get the points and you get it right. I know some really good EMTs and some paramedics that didn't pass their final skills till the last night. But we'll do it again and again and again until you get it perfect. If you can't do it perfectly without thinking, without any question, you're not going to pass. But that's never happened to someone that's made it all the way through. So I guarantee you, you'll have it done so many times, you'll be able to recite it in your sleep without even thinking. There's 3 or 4 people in this class that have taken it before. They'll tell you the same thing. You'll leave, even if you don't pass academically, if you don't pass the final, you will still come out of here 100% confident that you can treat a patient without question. Any questions? All right. CPR card. Does everybody have their CPR card? Is there anyone who doesn't have their CPR card? All right, so then I'm gonna send you guys a form 1. You're the one that didn't take the class? Oh, I thought you were treated.
We took a class over the weekend. We haven't gotten the card yet.
I'm holding. So anyway, I'm gonna send you guys a form hopefully tonight. Once I get logged into another database that I was too brain fogged earlier to remember my passwords, but now I've got them. I'm gonna send you guys a form. You're gonna be required to put in your CPR card, a copy of it. Basically do it on your phone, don't do it on a computer. Pull the form up and send you guys, email you guys the form. Take a picture of your CPR card. You're gonna need to get a negative TB test. This all needs to be done before exam 2. You can't do your ride a long time without a negative TB test. You have to go to the clinic, the health department, your doctor, whoever, and get a negative TB test. And don't wait till the last minute to do it because you got to wait 48 to 72 hours. They inject it under your skin. Then you got to come back 48 hours later and have them read it. And if you ate, so it has to be read between 48 and 72. After 72 hours, they can't read it. So it takes 3 days basically. Yes.
We've recently got one.
Cool. Just
Use that.
take a photograph of it. Then 6 months, I believe you're golden. Any other questions on the TB test?
TV test.
Total basis. No, just kidding. I'm a baseball player. Tuberculosis. Just to make sure. Stop laughing. Way too much baseball on that. Anyway, tuberculosis runs like wildfire through hospitals and colleges. So they got to make sure that we don't send a student into a hospital and kill all the patients, all the elderly, immune compromised patients. Generally, unless it's COVID and you're a governor. Any questions? All right. Another controversial thing, you're going to need a flu shot or have to sign a waiver that you're going to wear a mask the entire time you're on your observation. Again, I don't make these rules. I understand we all have very strong feelings about flu shots and COVID shots and vaccinations and all that stuff. The bottom line is, like I said earlier, you're able to do this or you're not able to do this. A lot of bureaucracy and rules that I can't get around. I'm sorry. I don't know if we need COVID anymore. I don't think we do, but I think you still need your flu shot. Believe it or not, flu was killing 60,000 people a year, every year, before COVID was ever thought of or heard of. It just didn't make the press because there wasn't enough profit. I didn't just say that. It didn't make the press, and nobody really knew about it massive. But yes, it still kills about 60,000 people a year. All right, ICS 100 link is on your guys' first day handout. There's also a digital copy of this first day handout on Canvas. So you can click on that link. You have to do your ICS 100. It's a free class. Click on the link, sign up for the class, take the class at your own pace, get it done. Print out your cert, take a picture of your phone, upload it into the app that I'm going to send you. Same with ICS 200. You need that. You already have it. Just take a picture of the ones you already have. Same thing with introduction to hazmat. You need that. If you're already FRO, then just upload your FRO. If you don't have FRO, then, or you don't know what FRO means, you need to take this. Any questions? How many people already have FRO? 3. If you've taken it before, you can upload the one you took before, if you still have a copy of it. Any questions? This is just to make sure you don't pick up, like radioactive materials. What's this? I'm seeing. Title 22 requires you to do a minimum of 24 hours of observation time. And you have to have a minimum of 10 patient contacts. Now, important, pay attention. Since the start of Obamacare, most hospitals and ambulances have been absorbed by corporations because no one can possibly do the cost and the overhead of the required regulations. Those corporations, unfortunately, don't see the difference between an EMT student and a nursing student. So all the requirements on observation for students, EMT students, the same as nurses, which costs about another $500 to $600 for you to get done. Insurance policies, personal insurance, extra immune system. You have to have the full immune panel done, et cetera. It's ridiculous. This class has got a lot of volunteer firefighters in it, at least it used to. So I'm doing everything I can to not have them happen. So currently, we don't have any contracts with corporate hospitals that require those things. That said, there's only one hospital left in the area, one ambulance left there that are not corporate that don't have those requirements. So the only places that you're going to be able to do your observation time is Fairchild Medical Center in Wairika, the Mount Shasta Ambulance, which has offices in Wairika, Wheat, and Shasta. Only because I'm trying to save you guys about $600 each. This class is already too expensive as it is. Any questions? But anyway, you've got to go at least 24 hours between those two places and see a minimum of 10 patients. Questions? So I'm going to send out that form and also send out a HIPAA training packet for you guys. HIPAA is a privacy protection law that was passed in the early 90s. Just got to read it and sign acknowledging that you've read it and you understand the HIPAA laws. You got to upload that too. So that form I have will be 8 of them again. Take the pictures with your phone, upload the files. It'll send it to me and it'll automatically put it in a report. Then I can email those reports, all your stuff directly to the hospital. Before we had to wait and get stacks of these packets. Then we had to find someone that could make it to Wairika. It was a nightmare. So now we can just do it all digitally. Once everybody sent them in, zing, we send them up. Now they want them all at once though. So you guys need to have this done by exam 2. Because midterm is when we start doing right along an observation time. And we can't be giving them, oh yeah, this one down. Oh yeah, this one's already down. Oh, yeah, this one. Y'all got to have it in by exam 2. Because you can't pass this class unless you've turned all this in and you do 24 hours observation at the state level. Any questions? You don't have to do it all tonight, but you need to have it done before exam 2. Don't wait till the night before exam 2 and go, man, I need to get my TB test and my flu shot. Don't do that. Any questions? All right. Any questions? So observation time is learning time. You need to be part of the team of whoever you're assigned to. It's not a time for you to hang out on your phone, sit around, put your feet up on the desk at the hospital counter. Yes, it's been done. They've been sent home. There is not a nurse in this county or at Fairchild Medical Center that does not have my personal cell phone number. And every one of the EMTs and paramedics in my Shasta ambulance are my employees. They all have my cell phone number. So if you are stepping out of line or not doing what you're supposed to be doing, I promise you I'll know about it. And I probably won't be very happy. You'll probably have to review those numbers. Any questions? All right. There's 4 categories to pass this class. The first 3 categories are pass, fail. The last category, which is your tests, is what gives you your grade. You guys ready for this? All right. Category A, you got to be here 170 hours. And 24 of those hours has to be observation time with 10 contacts. And whether you've had auto extrication or not, the state of California wants you to take auto extrication during the EMT class. So you can't miss auto extrication. Any questions?
What's auto extrication?
How to get people out of cars that crashed.
Oh,
Yeah. And we do it a little different. We used to be a lot more fun. It's my fault. It's not anymore. Take the hit for that. We used to go over and cut cars up, jaws of life, stuff, break windows. But every department's got a different operating procedure, every fire department, so we don't really teach anybody anything. So what we do now is we get the cars and we stuff people inside the cars. And we make you take them out properly within a time limit. So much more educational and much more valuable. Any questions on category A? Pass, failure, or you don't? Category B, your team events. You have to pass every skills exam at least once, but you will. And you got to get 1,000 team points. Last semester they were at 1,000 team points before exam 4. Everybody was phenomenal. Any questions? Category C, affective and effective behavior. How to become a professional. Again, your words and actions after something happened. Doesn't matter what happened. It's your words and your actions after something happened is what makes or breaks you. You're going to be a leader, you're going to be viewed, you're going to be videoed endlessly, and you're going to be criticized. You need to be able to handle that and move forward as a professional. You're going to have weak members on your team. You need to make them stronger. You need to help them out. You can talk down about them, make fun of them, and criticize them, or you can make them better. The weakest, your team will only be as strong as its weakest link. The choice is yours and how you want to handle it. But if you handle it wrong, we'll tell you. So, blah, 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 blah. There's a lot there. Integrity and honor is critical. If people don't believe you, if you lie about vital signs that you took, you can't hear a blood pressure, instead of saying I can't hear a blood pressure, you just make up some numbers. And then the people you turn care of to find out you made up those numbers, they're never going to listen to you again. Your career is sunk. Don't do that. So respect, you got to respect your classmates, your instructors, your patients, your doctors, your nurses. It doesn't matter how angry you are with them. It doesn't matter how much you disagree with them. It doesn't matter if you don't like them. And you're not going to like everybody. And you're not going to hate everybody. And not everybody's going to like you. And not everybody's going to hate you. But it doesn't matter how you feel about them or what you think. You still have to be a professional. You still have to make it about your patient and not about you. Is that clear? You got to show courtesy. You don't send out derogatory or demeaning behavior. Any questions? All right, attitude, same thing, manner, disposition. If you get evaluated each night by your proctors, generally our last 6 or 7 semesters, we have not had any problems with the effective. Everybody's been very professional, very good. But if you come in displaying a negative attitude and a non-professional demeanor, you will get negative markings and you will not pass. Personal accountability, if you blame others, you blame equipment, if you blame mystical forces, you'll still fail. Any questions? Again, it doesn't matter. Either you accomplished it or you didn't accomplish it. Your patients either alive or they're dead. It doesn't matter what. Any questions? And then integrity. If you're going to say something, you better make sure that you follow through. Actions mean everything, words mean nothing. If you say something, you better be able to follow through with it. Do not claim or state something is something until you can prove that. Is that clear? All right, don't make stuff up. And then, of course, appearance. You have to have professional appearance. Any questions? Who's exhausted? Man, just kidding. All right, category D, these are your tests. There's going to be 6 50-question exams. There are no makeups, but here's the good news. Each one of those exams are only 5% of your grade. I fully expect you to fail the first 2 exams. Just because most people are no idea how to do critical thinking testing and skills. We're going to teach you, and we're going to do our best to teach you. That's why it's critically important you do the practice tests. You have them done before each class. On your first day handout there, there's things that says which chapters are due. Practice exams for those chapters are due also there on your campus. Do your practice exams, do them as many times as you can. There is no limit to how many times you can do it. Now, your midterm is the first test you have to pass. If you don't pass the midterm, you won't pass this class. No one's ever failed the midterm and made this amazing comeback and pass the class. It's 30% of your grade. If you fail the midterm and you want to be an EMT, I strongly encourage you to stay in this class, take the F, continue to practice, continue to study, continue to practice taking the tests, come back again the next semester. It's been done literally hundreds of times. Last one exam is your final. That's 40% of your grades. The midterm and the final are 70% of grade. You only need 75% to pass. So there are no makeup exams, but the regular exams, they're important, but they're not critical as part of your grades. Any questions? All right. You don't get 8 out of 10 on all of your practice exams for the chapters that are due. I take a point off your grade, or a point off your tests, which is 1/10% of your grade. You also have to get a 75% on the final. And every semester, somebody who's passing the class doesn't get a 75 on the final. I haven't figured it out yet. I've interviewed people, I've talked to people, and I can't find a common denominator of why that happens. Outside of people think they got it made, they go into their final 200 question exam, they just bomb it. So you gotta steady, you gotta stay going full tilt until the end. This is only an 8-week class. We're shoving 170 hours in 8 weeks. This is a full bore, full tilt class. Last time we did it in this format, everybody that stuck to the end, I believe, passed. Nobody failed, and everybody passed their national insurance. So I think this Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, high speed, high stress format is better than the 2-day week version of the week. It's hard. Don't get me wrong, it is hard. There's nothing easy about this, but it's worth it if you go through it and do it. Any questions? There's your grades. There is no D. Anything below 75% is an F. 75 to 79 is a C. 80 to 89 is a B. 90 and above is an A. It is doable. People do get A's. And so on. Any questions? Clean up. We got to clean up. Other people use these classrooms to make sure everything's put away nicely. Gotta make sure the equipment's put away nicely at the end of the night. We don't just throw stuff in the closet. Leave the tables all askew. Any question? Leave it the way that you want it found when you come in. Any refreshers in here? I know there's at least one signed up. Not here, huh? All right. We're not gonna waste time on that then. So becoming an EMT, you gotta pass this class. You gotta take your national entry test. Then you gotta go to the state, take theirs. Those prices are very old. I think it's like 85 now for Pearson. Do anybody know? It's not cheap. Then once you get your national register card, you go to the state, show them your national register card, pay them their money. They give you an EMT class or an EMT card. Blah, 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 blah. It's about $350, I think, total. But then you get out the live scans, pay the national register, pay the state. Not cheap. So if you really want to learn how to do this, I'm going to do everything I can to teach you. I really will. We try real hard. The project's going to try real hard. There is no substitute than being on a volunteer fire department. You don't have to have any pre-qualifications. You don't have to have any training. They will take you. Everybody is taking firefighter training, volunteers. It is the best way to learn this class. Going on actual medical calls with actual EMTs of people that are actually dying, there is no substitute. It's the way to learn this. I can also say how many academy people got in here. So that's how I got into this. Was I started in the academy. I lived in the Weed City Fire Station. In the first 6 days, I figured out 90% of being a firefighter is EMS calls. So I figured I better get really good at it. Any questions? All right, let's get started on the actual chapter zone. That was your orientation. We got 2 more chapters, then we'll go to break. Nobody's got nothing to give me the finger yet, so we're off to a great start. Well, no, it doesn't make me feel good. I consider it accomplishment. I want to get something out. So we'll see how many people come back after break. The skills is the funnest part, so I don't know why you would come back for skills. Shoving things down people's throats when they're not breathing is just fun. All right, chapter 1, EMS systems. You want to know how you know that's a fake picture? Everything's too clean. There's never been an emergency scene in the history of the world that was clean. Look how shiny and clean everything is. That's a drill. But it's a good picture. All right, so our thoughts for this chapter. It's okay not like everyone that you work with or go to school with. And it's very much okay to not have a difference of opinion. But it's never okay to let your dislikes or your difference of opinion affect your team or the quality of your patient care for your person that is sick and dying. It's never about you. It's always going to be about the patient or family. If you think it's about you, you should probably switch careers. Patient's not your first consideration. You've got issues and it's not going to go well for you. Any questions? All right, so these first couple of chapters are not exciting, but then it starts getting really good. We get some really, really good stuff, some good information here. But we got to get through all the legal stuff first, because if you don't know the legal stuff, you're going to get yourself in big trouble. So we're going to define what emergency medical services is, so we know what we are and what we're doing. We're going to learn how we got here, because if you know how you got here, it gives you a better understanding of why things are the way they are. You're going to know what the 4 levels of EMS certification are and what their roles are. We're going to go to the 14 components of what makes an EMS system. Believe it or not, EMS systems don't just appear. They're actually built. It takes an enormous amount of resources to build an EMS system. You have to know how medical direction works so you can legally work as an EMT. And of course, you have to know what the roles and responsibilities of the EMT are. All right. So the overall goal, the cliff notes, is an EMT needs to be able to size up a scene, do a good patient assessment, look at the factual positive findings of that patient assessment, and form a primary impression. Then based on that primary impression, use a treatment protocol to treat their patient. And then get them to the definitive care, the hospital where they need to be, and then get ready for the next emergency. That's the cliff notes. Now we're going to dive a little deeper into that. EMS history, that's the first rig I worked on. All right, World War I was the first time they used motorized vehicles as ambulances. And then after World War I, a lot of the funeral homes discovered that if you turn your hearses into ambulances, your old hearses, not the new ones. You gotta keep the new fancy ones. Look good for funerals. But if you use the old broken down hearses, put some lights on them, made it into ambulances. And you put untrained people on it, because there was no EMTs, there was no paramedics in the 40s and 50s and 60s and 30s. You had an excellent foot in the door with the family for interment services, but they didn't survive. That's how ambulances started. They're pretty much all privately run by funeral homes. So World War II, believe it or not, military wars and blowing people up, shooting people is how we learn how to do this. It's what makes the system better. It was when they first started training corpsmen, which became the first EMTs, to provide some aid in the field. They figured out that if they did some basic stuff, opening airways, stopping bleeding and stuff, they could actually keep people alive enough to get them into the doctor, get them into surgery. But it wasn't really till Korea, until they first came up with the true trauma system, the first true EMS, where they actually, someone got shot or got blown up. If they lived past the first 5 minutes, they could stop the bleeding, get them thrown in a helicopter, fly them over the hill, and have literally a team of trauma surgeons waiting for them and get them into surgery within an hour. They had a 96% survival rate. And then in Vietnam, they really got it down to a science. But then what happened was, in the 70s, people were coming back from Vietnam that were surviving getting shot in the war, getting in a car accident in the United States, dying in a car accident because there's no EMS system. So we actually had in Korea and Vietnam way better emergency services than we had here in the States. It just didn't exist. So it wasn't until the 1970s after Vietnam that started going, man, why don't we start applying this to civilians and actually save lives of people? Because the survival rate of out of hospital traumatic injury and cardiac was like next to zero, which is why it was such a great business for funeral homes. Any questions? So that's how it started. So it started in the very early 70s. 1966 is when it really got, the foot got in the door. Believe it or not, actually, Belfast, Ireland, actually had the first advanced life support cardiac monitors on the ambulances in 1966, trying to go out and treat immediate and sudden cardiac death in the field. They weren't very successful, but they at least started it and had the concept. Any questions? So emergency medical service is a multi-level team approach. This goes down from first responders to EMTs to paramedics to emergency room nurses, emergency room doctors, specialty surgeons, specialty surgeries, floor and intensive unit care to rehabilitation care. If any one of those levels or functions of the system fails, the patient dies or the patient does not get back to what they were before. You're going to see a lot more vocabulary word you have to know is definitive care. And definitive care is getting the patient back to what they were before the incident happened. So EMT basics are the backbone of the EMS system. You cannot have an EMS system without EMT basics, which is what this class is. Paramedics, come in floating on the cloud with the aura around them. Oh, but actually they're nobody without a group of EMTs with them doing all the work and keeping the patient alive so they can push their one drug. Seriously, that's true. I'm a paramedic, I can say that. Any questions? You need to know what NHTSA is and what DOT is. NHTSA is the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, and the DOT is the Department of Transportation. They set the basic guidelines for the states to develop their own EMS systems. That's going to be on the test. Any questions?
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. And DOT is Department of Transportation. I have no idea why we need two separate bureaucracies for traffic. It's a tax thing. Somebody said, yeah, it's a tax thing. Any questions? National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. No problem. All right, 4 levels of EMS certification in order. The first level is emergency medical responder, abbreviated EMR. Second one is emergency medical technician. The next level is advanced emergency medical technician. And then the top level is emergency medical technician, paramedic. We're gonna go over each one of them. So if you haven't written them down, it's okay. Just gonna go over the detail. Emergency medical responder, might even have a couple in the room right now. Those 40 to 60 hours of training gives you most basic life support skills. It's not usually included advanced airways, but it does include a defibrillator. So you can well people by being shot. Any questions? No questions about EMRs.
What's the yellow word?
King Airway or Combi 2, those are advanced airways that are obsolete. Now they're called iGels. I left those in there for nostalgic purposes. They're both obsolete. EMT basic, that's where we are. By DOT standard, it's a minimum of 160 hours. Of course, California can't be at the minimum, so through an extra 10 hours there for no reason. It's the entire BLS scope of practice. You get to do iGels, learn geomask airways, etc. It allows you to work on an ambulance, and it gives you expanded scope for administration of some medications. For example, in California, they give aspirin, Narcan, oral glucose, something else now, but it's epinephrine. Any questions? Oxygen, yes. EMRs can give oxygen too. That's the only drug they can't give. No questions. All right, advanced EMT. That's generally used in small rural areas like Sister County for fire departments or volunteer ambulances that can't afford or justify paramedics. Paramedics and advanced life support are extremely expensive. The regulations are endless. And it's very hard to support it's very hard to make it cost effective. So what they do is they created an EMT advanced for volunteers. And it's above, it's not quite level of paramedic, but it's above being an EMT. They can generally start IVs, they can give about 8 or 10 drugs. Any questions about advanced EMTs? All right. And then you got them paramedics. 13 to 2,100 hours of training, full advanced life support, skills, medications. It's the highest trained field provider. And yes, practices vary from state to state. It's very different. Any questions? All right. So, how does it all come together in an EMS system? So the EMR is usually the first person on scene. They're usually a police car, fire engine, park ranger, whatever. Sometimes lifeguard. And they're usually the first one that's usually there in seconds to minutes of an emergency. And EMTs come in. Sometimes it's EMTs are by themselves. They have basic life support units. Sometimes they're part of advanced life support units. They assess and package the patient. EMT advance, if it's in a rural volunteer area, or EMT paramedics, usually they're the last ones to get there because they're fewer and farther apart. And they get in and do what paramedics do. Start IVs, give medications, things like that. Any questions? So professional attributes of an EMT, you have to have integrity. If you're not truthful or not honest about things, no one's going to believe you, your career will suck. You have to have empathy. If you don't truly care what happens to people, you're probably not going to go real well for emergency services. You got to want the people to not die. If you don't care, it's probably not going to work out well. Got to be self-motivated. No one's going to motivate you in this industry. The criticism, the negativity will be extremely high. You have to be self-motivated. You have to have some pretty good self-confidence. You got to let a lot of stuff roll off. One of the biggest things with self-motivation is people are going to say things to you that are absolutely ridiculous, have no bearing or truth or fact about it. So you gotta remember that that's their problem. You gotta have the confidence, which this class hopefully will give you, that you know exactly what you're doing, why you're doing it, and how you're doing it. And what their criticisms are when they have no idea what they're talking about is on them, and it's not on you. Does that make sense? Hopefully, you guys stick this out till the end of October, you'll have that ability. Self-confidence, so we just talked about excellence, not self-motivation. Appearance and hygiene, you have to look at active professional. Time management is huge. You've got to be able to do things quickly and efficiently in a short manner of time. And a lot of these are time-sensitive, life-threatening emergencies. Communications, you got to be able to communicate verbally, face-to-face, over the radio, on the telephone, and you got to be able to write reports. We're going to teach you how to do all that. You got to be able to work in a team, and you got to be diplomatic. You got to have respect for everybody involved. You got to be the advocate for your patient, because most of your patients probably won't have anyone advocating for them. And you got to do no harm, not make the patient worse. If you drop your patient down a staircase and break 6 more limbs, actually she'll have 4 more limbs. That's not what you're supposed to do. Any questions? All right. Job responsibilities. Hey, look at that big one in black bold print and underlined. That means it's important. The rest of them are important too. That one's really important. So you gotta have your vehicles. Remember, preparation's everything. You gotta have your vehicles and your equipment ready for an emergency. Emergency vehicle operations course. You got to be able to operate the fire engine, the ambulance, the police car. You can't crash it, you can't run people over, you can't wreck them. It's bad. It's very important to have EMOC. On-scene leadership. We're going to teach you how to be a leader. That's the other thing too. I give a batting order for your teams. Everybody gets to lead. You got to learn how to be a leader, how to give direction. You got to be able to take direction when you're not the leader. You got to be able to assess a scene. You got to know what, when, and how to order additional resources. We're going to teach you all this, don't worry. How to gain access to the patient. You got to be able to do good patient assessments. Believe me, you will. You got to be able to look at the positive findings, form a prior impression, and provide the correct treatments. You got to be able to get them out of the vehicle or out of the house. You got to work as a team. You can't do it by yourself. Nobody's that good. Nobody. You got to have continuity of care with other agencies and other professionals. You got to work together. You got to be able to communicate. You got to be able to transfer the patient through the system. Things are going to happen. Stuff goes sideways all the time. All the time. You got to be able to resolve quickly and do critical thinking and go to plan B or plan C or plan D, whatever it takes to get that patient back to what they were before. And you got to do all that while doing it within the law and upholding the medical and legal standards. And you can't get out of the bar and talk about that patient. You can't say, hey, George Smith today, you would not believe what happened to him. You can't do that. Administrative support, you got to do your reports, and if there's nobody administrating or running the place, things don't go well. Education, continuing education, this never ends. Once you get your EMT, you got to have a minimum of 12 hours a year of continuing education, or you don't get to recertify your EMT in 2 years. And community relations. You got to be a part of the community. You got to interact with the community and hopefully do productive, drawing a blank. Got to be able to do projects with the community for high increased safety, things like seatbelt classes, bike rodeos, car seat safety inspections, things like that. Any questions? All right. So components of an EMS system. I truly didn't understand. I mean, I understood it always, but it didn't really hit home with me until I had one of my paramedic students. His family had quite a bit of money, and they decided that they were going to start an ambulance service in Vietnam because there are no ambulances. I said, wow, that's awesome. Similar to Vietnam, came back and says, can't do it. So I said, there's no EMS system. You got nowhere to take them. You don't have emergency rooms. You don't have emergency room doctors. That doesn't exist. So you got to have a system. So like I said, there's no way to call. There's no 911. There's no way. This doesn't exist. So it's not just having an ambulance. You got to have public access. You got to have a dispatch system. It's got to go through an emergency access center. You got to have rules through medical direction. Someone that's supervising. You gotta have emergency rooms, you gotta have specialty centers, you gotta have rehabilitation centers, to get people back walking and talking again. Information systems, you gotta have radios and cell phone systems that page out to get the emergency responders as quickly as possible. You gotta do prevention, that was the thing, I could not think of the word on the last slide. Community prevention, doing education with the community. You gotta do research to see what's working, what's not working, because you have to constantly be improving the system. Human resources, if you have people that are gonna be employees, they have to be taken care of. Somebody has to take care of the EMTs and the paramedics. Legislation, regulation, you can't have everybody just going off on their own. There's gotta be rules to make sure that we're doing the best possible care. It's gotta be constantly evaluated. Everything is finance. Doesn't matter if you're a private system, a public system, or how much regulation it is, it's unbelievably expensive. Emergency services has endless costs, insurance, maintenance, requirements that most of the public has no concept of. You can't have things breaking down, you can't have things going wrong, so you have to replace them before they break down. You have to have tons of insurance, you have to have, unbelievable. You got public education, you gotta have people that can train EMTs, kind of like what we're doing right here. And you gotta have those education systems in place. Any questions? There's a lot that goes into an EMS system. All right. So public access. Believe it or not, when I started in the system here in Weed, there was no 911. Had a separate number for fire department, a separate number for the police, and a separate number for the ambulance. I am not kidding. Matter of fact, we used to give stickers out to people because there was no cell phones either. And we used to have stickers with the numbers on it. And we give them out to people so they could put them on their phone. So if they picked their phone up, they had all the numbers right there. And they were full 7-digit numbers. And, yeah. 911 didn't come until 1986. It was the last time to get it. So it's got to be access, got to be easy. 911 is very easy. Enhanced 911 is what we have now. It's what they, it's actually all digitally programmed, so you know your exact location when you call. Then emergency medical dispatch, which is abbreviated EMD. That's when you have two dispatchers. One dispatcher is getting the closest resources to the emergency, while the other one's giving life-saving instructions. Any questions? All right, communication systems, radios. That's a cell phone. This is radio. Radio systems, so same thing, expensive. Unbelievable cost to maintain a duplex radio system. Cell phones also expensive, but not as expensive as they used to be. Digital radio interface. This is going away actually. Well, we'll see. Digital radio interface is when instead of talking over the radio, you send everything over in ones and zeros. It goes squawk. That's all you hear if you listen to the radio. But it'll come up on a screen in the patrol car of the ambulance, or directly onto the paramedic or the EMT's computer. And then networking cellular interface, everything's web-based now. Pretty much as long as you have a cell phone internet signal with data, all of your patient care reporting, your EKGs, everything's done through road web-based now. Even here. Any questions? All right. So clinical care, your scope of practice. Scope of practice is what the EMT is allowed to do. Are you allowed to start IVs? No. Are you allowed to give epinephrine injections? Yes. That's what a scope of practice is. Equipment, you'll have a long list of medical equipment that you should have for your rescue squad or your ambulance. Then response zones should be set up so that the closest resources can get there in the fastest amount of time. That's why you set up response zones. Questions? You stop breathing right now, you probably want someone coming from weed, not someone coming from Mount Shasta or Wairika. That's why I respond to questions. Human resources. Those are the people that take care of the EMS people. Making sure you get paid, you have insurance, all your endless stack of paperwork for the government's filled out. Can't do it without it. All right, this will be on the test. There are endless test questions on medical direction. So offline or standing orders. What standing orders is that's when your medical director gives you a preset group of instructions based on your primary impression. So if you do a really good patient assessment on a patient and they're having chest pain, and you determine that your primary impression is a chest pain cardiac patient, you'll probably have a pre-listed set of instructions called standing orders from your medical director to give them oxygen and aspirin. If they have nitro assist them with their own nitro, they'll have a set standing orders. Now, if you don't have standing orders, but you have something that's within your scope of practice that you want to do for the patient, that's when you got to call your base hospital and talk to your medical director. They get a verbal order from the director. That's the difference between online and offline medical direction. Any questions? Every call.
What's the difference? So many calls.
So most in the modern era of EMS, they've got it dialed in so well, almost everything is offline. So they've got a protocol for pretty much everything. So if your primary impression is XYZ, you have an XYZ protocol, and you follow it. Now, some's in a gray area, you're assessing, you're not sure which one it is, then you call in and you do online. That makes sense? Yeah. Any questions? But if you don't do a good patient assessment, evaluate your factual findings to form primary impression, you don't know what all that impression is. That's what patient assessments are critically important. All right. Legislation and regulation. Each system has a medical director. Each state has its correct scope of practice. Once again, you're offline and you're online. Any questions? All right. Evaluation, constant evaluation. I can honestly tell you, I first started in 1982 as an explorer. I didn't really start in this until 1985. There is nothing that is the same in EMS from when I started. Literally nothing. We have improved everything completely. And sometimes it's like a pendulum, it goes back and forth. We do this, we don't do this. We do this, we don't do this. Just depends on what the current data shows. But be ready for constant changes every year. Any questions? All right, again, EMS is one gear in a large machine. If any gear in that machine fails, the patient doesn't do well. It is essential that all the gears are running. About halfway through the class, I'm going to give you guys a case presentation of something that you will find, or probably believe 99% of you, is physically impossible to happen. But it did, because the gears were all working correctly. Unfortunately, in our society, not all the gears work correctly all the time. But it's so important that you understand why they need to work correctly. And then you do everything you can possibly do to make sure they work correctly. And if they don't work correctly, you're forming a plan to get them to work correctly. Any questions? All right. So definitive care, getting someone back to what they were prior to the incident. Remember, be on the test. Any questions? All right. So example of integration of healthcare services. You got to have an easy, reliable access to emergency. 911, before 911, they had these things called alarm boxes. They were awesome. There was a fire or you did the cop, you ran down to the corner, you broke the glass, and you pulled the handle. That would set an alarm off at the dispatch center. They knew exactly where you are, that you needed help. There's usually somebody within 2 to 3 blocks could be there from the fire department, police. A basic system long before digital 911 or anything like that. Most people didn't even have phones back then. So you gotta have dispatchers. Dispatching is a brutal job. You've got to take panicked people that may not even speak the language very well, or have a different dialect from a different part of the country, and they're screaming and talking at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and you got to decipher what's wrong, find out where they're at, and get the proper resources rolling. It's a job I would not wish on. EMS has got to get dispatched around there in a timely manner. You gotta have emergency rooms that are close by, so you can have maximum effectiveness. You gotta have specialty centers, stroke centers, cardiac centers, trauma centers that can be there to get a patient in quickly to try to get them back to what they were prior to the incident. Any questions? There's a lot that goes into an EMS system and integration of health services. A lot. All right, information systems. Being able to get the information from the reporting party to the dispatcher, from the dispatcher to EMS, from EMS to the hospitals, from the hospitals to the specialty people is critical. It has endless components for failure. Documentation, the written report is paramount. Really usually at times this class moves so fast. I used to play telephone. Has anybody not played telephone before? As a kid? Really? Never heard of it? So what happens is I go whisper, I write something down, I write down a phrase. I whisper in her ear, she whispers in her ear, she whispers in her ear. And by the time you get to the back of the classroom, somebody says, okay, what's the phrase? And I'll put the phrase up on the board and they'll say what the phrase is. It has nothing to do with what was written down because so much is lost in verbal translation. That's why written documentation is so important. Any questions? Finance. It's expensive. What else can I say? And there's a struggle every year for finance. Finding ways to pay for it and getting people to pay for it or taxes to pay for it, or it's a struggle every year. Finance is insane. Finance has a lot to do with efficiency though. If you got some areas that you have equipment that barely runs and volunteers, and then you have other systems where you've got marble floors and $7 million fire stations with a beautiful ambulance sitting up. Finance is everything. Any questions? Education systems. If you don't have an education system, you won't have an EMS system. You got to be able to train people, and you got to be able to train new people coming in. One of the other big things I try to do in this class is try to break, right now, the average life expectancy of an EMS career is about 4 years. People burn out after about 4 years. A lot of that reason is basically disappointment, unrealistic expectations of what the career and the job are. They're trying to give you realistic expectations, realistic what the job actually is. It is a good job and it is a good career, but it's not what you see on TV. It's not Chicago Fire every day. It's very routine. It's very predictable. Any questions? All right. Continuing education is your responsibility. That will be a test question. Public prevention is huge. Say car seat classes. So we have to do with a bike radio. Bike radios are cool. It's where you teach kids how to do basic traffic laws on their bikes that are on their garbage trucks. Give them helmets, inspect their bikes, things like that. Any questions? All right. Then research. Research is endless on how things work, how well they work, what can be improved, and what should we not be doing. I'll give you a great example. For the first 35, 40 years to be doing this, anyone that had a potential spinal injury, we wrapped them up like a freaking mummy, strapped them to backboards, and left them there for hours. And what they found out was that was really bad for people. It was causing sores on their back and respiratory problems, and people actually ended up not doing well at all. But it took decades of research to find out that was, mobilization was trying to keep the spine immobilized so that it didn't cut or crush the spinal cord, and then they found out that actually it didn't make that much of a difference. It makes a difference. We still do it in certain situations, but we do it about 90% less. Just an example. So research is key in the progression and the improvement of the EMS. Any questions? All right. All right, let's do a case study. So your patient suffers a head injury. Lights off. We put a lot of work into that last one. So somebody activates 911. 911 dispatcher gets the address location, the other one gets life-saving instructions. Hey, come on. There we go. There's your dispatchers. All right, so they send first responders, usually police, fire, dispatch, life support unit, maybe basic life support or advanced life support, depending on the system. Personnel arrive, they treat and package the patient. Would have been a life support unit, which is an ambulance. For transport to the closest appropriate facility to get them back to what they were prior to the injury. Patient recovers the proper treatment so they can go out and do something like that. Questions? All right, which of the following is a unique function of the emergency medical dispatcher? Is it A, providing callers with life-saving instructions? Is that unique? Maybe. It's a good answer. Obtaining patient information caller. That's also a good answer. But do all dispatchers do that? Do all dispatchers give life-saving instructions? No. So by critical thinking, we rule B out. See how this works? Relaying relevant information to the EMTs. That's also a correct answer. But is it unique to the EMD as opposed to another dispatcher? No, it's not. So we can throw C out. Directing the ambulance to the correct address. Every dispatcher does that, correct? But an EMD dispatcher, unique one is A. So that's how critical thinking works. You got 4 correct answers there. What's the most correct? Any questions? All right, you're dispatched to an apartment complex for a shooting. Law enforcement personnel present and have the suspect in custody. You find them lying in a narrow space between the couch and the coffee table. They're semi-conscious and they got a big hole in their chest. What should you do? Should you quickly move the coffee table so you can assess and treat your patient? Not a bad answer. I mean, you might ruin some evidence doing it, but not a bad answer. Should you drag the patient into a large area so you can begin treatment? Also not a bad answer, but it would be better to move the table or move the patient. Okay, so let's throw B out. C, ask law enforcement permission. Probably a good idea, not wrong, but is it a better answer than A? No. How about D, treat the patient where he is so you don't destroy any evidence. Good answer, again. Is it a better answer than A? No. All right, standards for pre-hospital emergency care, the individuals who provide it are typically regulated by who? Is it the National Registry of EMTs? I personally have never heard of that. Is it the State Office of EMS? Yeah, it's a better answer than A. How about Regional Trauma Center? No, they have nothing to do with it. So B is our best answer. D, the American Heart Association. Great place, but no, they don't regulate EMS. So the only good answer here is D. Questions? All right, EMT training in nearly every state meets or exceeds the guidelines by which alphabet agency? It's the National Association of EMTs. How about NHTSA? Sound familiar? How about your state protocols? How about your National Registry of EMTs? Which one was the right answer there? So you guys are getting this. All right, we have one more slideshow to do, then we're going to go to break. Everybody still awake? Everybody still breathing? I turned the heat up here to make you sweat.
Until next week. We do this week. Next week.
Yeah, probably. All right, working for safety and wellness. You can't take care of anybody else unless you're taken care of first. So this is a job that runs high on emotion, high on stress. There's some critical things for you to get through it so you survive. Otherwise, you won't make it through this. You didn't put anybody else in the position they're in to get dispatched to them, unless you ran them over with your fire engine or ambulance. So it's possible. If you didn't do well in your EVAC class. Their choices and their factors in life put them there. You're there to help. It's your job, despite what their actions were, to help them. So you can't go, wow, that was really stupid. I'm gonna go get a cup of coffee. You can't do that. You have to help them regardless, but you didn't put them there. Your life will be good or bad based on the choices you made. If you continue to make the same choices that you had before and didn't like, you're going to continue to get the same results that you didn't like. So if you don't like the way something turned out, do it differently. Any questions? All right, how to survive being an EMT. I mean, health and safety, wellness of an EMT. So define what an infectious disease is. Know what a communicable disease is. Understand what universal precautions means, or what they are. Know how diseases get from one person or one thing to another. Understand how your body fights to kill diseases. And understand and know what an infection control plan is, which no matter what agency you work for, will be required to have. Understand the physiological, psychological, and physical responses to stress. Know what PTSD is? Oh boy. List the steps in prevention and management of stress, and describe workplace issues, which are endless, especially when it comes to sexual harassment, cultural diversity, substance abuse, and people that generally don't. Any questions that have to work with long relationships? All right. More? Understand the emotional aspects of emergency care. Understand the 5 factors of death and dying. Describe the stress involved with large incidents and how to accomplish scene safety. All right, so let's cover diseases. Infectious diseases, the medical condition, small growth organs, harms the body. That's what an infectious disease is. A communicable disease is a disease that spreads from one person to another person. Now, here's an important test question to know. All bloodborne diseases are communicable, but not all communicable diseases are bloodborne. Any questions? If someone splits blood in your mouth or eye, there's an excellent chance that they're sick. You're going to be sick too. That's why you use universal precautions. Any questions? All right, test questions. Always pick this one. All right, direct contact. Direct contact is like this. Good. Then you shake their hand and you go, and then you eat a sandwich. That's direct contact. Indirect contact. And I touch this. They give it to you, you touch it, and then you have a sandwich. That's indirect contact. You touch the surface. Most of your indirect contacts, door handles and money. Airborne. That's when I cough in your face. Foodborne. That's when you leave your food out, not refrigerated, not properly stored. And then vector-borne. That's when fleas and ticks bite you. Any questions? The plague. Okay. What you talking about, Wolves? Oh. The mint. You can get it from mints too, especially through indirect contact. Sick person.
Not from vector board.
Ah,
I mean, take that.
That bites you.
Oh, you know what I left out on there? Is animals, rabies is vector-borne. We're gonna teach you. We'll teach you about rabies. 35-year-old sprayed in the face of mace. That never happens. Any questions? Always. Never ends. All right, immunizations. I cannot urge you enough to get immunized if you're going to do this job. You're going to be exposed to all kinds of things. So you need to be immunized. Any questions? At minimum, you need to have your Hep B. So any agency you work for, you're required to have an exposure management plan. And any type of exposure that you have, wow, is your responsibility to be educated on your patient, your agency's exposure management plan, so you know how to follow it immediately when you've been exposed. Any questions? Stress management. All right, so first you have to understand stress. So your body's autonomic nervous system has 2 separate systems. You have your sympathogenic and your parasympathetic. The sympathogenic is your fight or flight, and it goes all the way back to caveman times. So the caveman's walking through the jungle of his club looking for a girl to club, and saber-toothed tiger jumps out at him. So he's got 2 choices. He can either fight that saber-toothed tiger for his life, or he can run for his life. That's why we call it fight or flight. It doesn't matter which one he chooses, he's gonna need the same stuff. So his eyes are gonna dilate, sympathetic nervous system is gonna dilate his eyes. It's gonna open his airways, it's gonna raise his blood pressure, it's gonna release the glucose storage from his livers, or from his endocrine system. And that's what he's gonna need. Now, when you're exposed to stress, saber-toothed tigers can cause you stress. In more modern times, we don't have too many saber-toothed tigers anymore outside of the zoo. Just kidding, there's nothing else. Anyway, but we have all kinds of other stresses in our modern world, and we don't manage those stresses. We're constantly in our fight or flight, which then causes our body to just be destroyed, because your body can't run in fight or flight 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It'll actually destroy you, and you'll die very young. Which is why it's so important about this. So in the 1980s, the average life expectancy after retirement for firefighters, police, and ambulance was about 2 years. And we've gotten that up to about 12 now. And that's a combination. It's not just stress management. It's also we have better healthcare, but people live longer. But it still is lower than any other industry in the world. So you will have the lowest life expectancy. All right, so you got to understand how fight or flight works. You got to understand what it does to your body. And you got to understand when you have that happening, how to manage it. And you got to understand what CISD is, which is critical incident stress debriefing. All right, let's go through this. So here's signs of somebody that's in stress.
After the mouth, the bears catch only the tastiest, most tender salmon, which is exactly what restaurant.
Great fight or flight.
John must endure the worst to bring you the best.
All right, that wasn't real. All right, so what causes stress? Dangerous situations. You will be in dangerous situations during emergency services. Strong physical and emotional demands. Those will be endless. Critical patients. Dead and dying patients and their families causes stress. Horrific sights and smells. Smells are way worse than sights, trust me. MCI, which is multiple casualty incidents, where you have bodies everywhere. More bodies than you have EMTs. Angry people. Let me tell you something. There is no shortage of angry people out there. And yes, they can cause you stress. The unpredictability of the demands of the EMS and the non-critical 911 patients, which is about 95%. But you're not doing it with that, you're doing it with that 5% that makes a difference. It's worth it, trust me. So what are the signs and symptoms? How do you know when you're having stress? Well, fight or flight. Your heart rate goes up, your respirations go up, your blood pressure goes up, you get cool and pasty skin because all the blood's being shunted away from your skin because the blood pressure is skyrocketing. Your pupils are dilated, your muscles are tensed up, your blood sugar goes up because it's reducing your glucose storage so your muscles can fight or flight. And it shuts down the blood flow to your skin and to your stomach, so you don't get nauseated or you're not hungry at all. Any questions? It's okay to be that way when the saber-toothed tiger jumps on. It's not okay to be that way 24/7. Any questions? All right. Here's a great example of workplace stress. Tell me if you guys think this guy's stressed. Prairie dogs. All right, getting along in a team environment. I can tell you right now, you're not gonna get along with everybody, and everybody's not gonna get along with you. You got different cultures, different backgrounds, and different experiences. So you gotta make sure the patient comes first. And not the EMT. The real old system, you say when the bell rings, this is the fire alarm. You put away your sides, go take care of what needs taken care of. You get back to the fire station, then you hate each other again. Perfectly okay. Now we call it the pager. Workplace hitting and teasing does have its place to break tension. However, it can lead to discontent and isolation of certain people. Does need to do it to the same person all the time. Make sure you distribute it equally, and I did not just condone workplace teasing or giving or practical jokes. Because I would never condone that. Make sure everyone on the team is supportive of each other, and that is critical no matter how many practical jokes or teasing you have someone. You have to make sure if you're going to do that, they know that you have their back at any moment of any time of any emergency. Any questions? Adaptation syndrome. 3 stages of response. The alarm state, saber-tooth tiger. Ah! Reaction resistance, fighting for your life or running for your life. Recovery. Getting your body back to what it was, like rest, relaxation. It's all over. Any questions on the 3 stages? If you don't get to stage 3, you've got a big problem. And yes, that happens when you're under constant stress. You don't get to stage 3. Delayed stress reactions. This is common in emergency services. Because of the way that you're trained, you immediately react. You don't even think about what's happening. Look at what needs to be done. You assess what needs to be done. You form your plan. You enact your plan. You get back to your active quarters, then you puke. That's very common in emergency services. It's called the delayed stress reaction. Cumulative stress reaction is also very common in emergency services. It isn't the one big plane crash or structure fire in a daycare center or something like that. It's the little tiny annoying things all day long that you never resolve, or you don't have the education or the training psychologically to be able to stop things that you don't like and make them better so they don't continue to happen in practice. If you have pattern stressors in your life, you will have cumulative stress reaction. Now, PTSD, that is the big one. That's when there's been a major incident and it changes your thought process and the way that you live your life. That's post-traumatic stress disorder. You want to do everything we can to keep you from that. So that's why we do critical incident stress debriefings whenever there's been a major incident. Any questions? If you truly want to understand post-traumatic stress disorder, I can honestly tell you, after literally decades of doing this, television is not going to accurately portray it, with the exception of one show, and it's on Tubi right now. It's called Third Watch. If you watch Third Watch, it will truly give you an insight to what it is like to live the life of police, fire, and EMS. The calls and the stuff aren't necessarily accurate, but the life situations and how they deal with stress and PTSD and stuff like that, it's as spot on as I've ever seen. There's 6 seasons. I just recommend watching all 6 in order. Any questions? And it's free on Tubi right now. I don't know how long it'll be there. All right, how do you handle workplace stress? Don't do what these guys did. That's not what you should be doing. So what you should be doing is remaining professional, have a good diet, which is very difficult when you're working 12 and 24-hour shifts. A lot of us are on a drive-through diet. Regular exercise, also very difficult if you're on call, but you need to do it. You need to make the time. And proper time to relaxation time, probably to hit that stage 3, the adaptation syndrome. Proper sleep, balancing work, family, and health is extremely difficult. When you've had a day of people that have lost loved ones 3 or 4 times in a shift, and you come home and the toilet's overflowed, and that's the biggest problem in your family's life, you have a really hard time taking that seriously. So it makes it difficult. You got to get on the same level with your family and understand they don't deal with and see the things that you see every day. Any questions? Now. Not saying that this is a good idea,
The parts are basically the same.
but I'm not
They
saying
both
it's a
have
bad.
big vessels supplying the brain. It's gonna be different practicing on a dead human though versus a live monkey, but practice is practice. So today I'm gonna be practicing isolating the costal vertebral arteries on both sides. You can isolate them, the ones that supply the neck and the face, and sort of like tie them in, both superficial and deep ones, I'll tie them in. Not sure it's gonna work. It can be a little ugly, especially if the skin starts to slop off. Oh, Jesus! There you go. Go that way.
Gotta stay fit, you gotta exercise at all times. Work out. Burn off that stress, that fight or flight. I think we've killed the workplace issues. Any questions? All right, culture diversity. Not everybody's gonna get along. You gotta stay part of the team.
You just want to laugh and everyone else while you're drunk. All right, no one's laughing at you. He thinks I'm some stupid thing he does. I didn't ask to get married. I didn't ask to be torn apart and put back together over and over and turn into some little monster. Rocky, no one's calling you a monster. He called me Berman. She called me rodent. I see you come out after 5 or 6 good stuff. Come on, man. Suck it up.
Gotta be able to work it out. All right, death and dying. 5 stages of grieving. That's the name of it before. First is denial, then anger, then bargaining, then depression, and then acceptance. Those are the 5 natural stages of grieving. This is the best example I've ever seen.
Uh-oh. It's no big deal. It's probably not even quicksand. I'm gonna have a good laugh about this tonight with the guys. Well, this is just perfect. Stupid quicksand, stupid jungle. I'm gonna bite someone in the face. Mother. Ah! That stupid jungle. Are you there, God? It's me, Giraffe. Listen, if you would just give me a mulligan on this quicksand thing, I promise, no more peeing on your shorter creatures. But you get a deal? You know something? I'm cool with this. I bet heaven has all the tender leaves I can get, and everyone gets their own Slurpee machine. Yeah, take me, sweet death. I await your loving embrace. What? I think I hit the bottom.
The best ever. I don't know how to turn into that one. Also not a funny video. So avoid sad and grim comments. Always orient the patient to what's going on and what you're doing. Always be honest. The worst things you could say is, it'll be okay, because you don't know it's gonna be okay. But always allow for it. All right, scene hazards. Things that can cause stress, hazardous materials, electricity, fire, traffic collisions, weather, violent situations, behavioral emergencies. Yes, you will see this. Front and center. Everybody's going to jail. Anyway, we're gonna take a break now. Come back at 5 minutes after 8. You're ready to go to skills. We're gonna teach you guys skills. That was great. Yes, she is. And I'm fortunate enough to not see her yet.
I saw her.
I'm still on it.
Oh.
I did see her.
Yeah, I haven't seen her since she's got back. I've dodged every bullet.
I love how you know exactly.
Stuff on the station.
Oh, look at this guy. Good to see you. So you saw me yesterday.
So.
So.
Nope, that's what's that.
Well, good to see you.
I don't know.
I was told that, another one that was.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so.
Good.
Dude, you're good. Oh.
So.
So you only actually have
I improved a little. That's because you're a ghost right now.
Hey, there's no year.
Hey, good. That was like $15. It's amazing.
Madison, you trade. I think I'm.
Oh, yeah.
This is a big class. Yeah, this is it's a lot of people. And we're missing like 90.
Well, I
Who
think,
signed up?
I figured when you emailed me the course schedule the other day, you probably want to be here. Good news, I was planning on coming.
But you told me you were.
Okay, I couldn't remember if I had it. But yeah, you pretty much got me until that starts.
You've been taking up.
I thought there was one week overlap.
Oh, is there, when it's gonna start?
No, I have a,
So you'll have me till
Well,
like-
we're pretty much nowadays.
I have a
It
crash
goes
course
like the
book,
last
and it has
three
all the
months.
drawings in it already. I already submitted it, so.
We've got skills so well
No,
down.
I can't take notes in class
People
because then I'll get
generally buy
behind and I
about
will
it.
actually not focus on what he's.
Yeah, just take what's got there, so that's what that
That's not. Oh, it's Caleb. You volunteers at the station? Oh, yeah. that's
Okay,
You
so
know, that, do that.
Actually,
Teach all that.
because right now I'm like almost for a naturalist, but script is still doing for the administrative stuff. But I'm now feeling.
Welcome in, Caleb. How's it at the station?
And now with anything.
I took a nap.
Yeah.
Oh, I got chicken nuggets.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
You got your 40-piece nugget?
Yeah.
Randy
So
said,
they-
but he doesn't want to take it.
Yeah. It's a job breakfast.
Yeah, breakfast for tomorrow.
Oh,
Their schedules are constantly changing.
And then between.
should actually, yeah.
Yeah, apparently you need 200 now.
That's gonna be one of the like eight.
For what?
Well, I didn't.
For this
Yeah, you need ICS 100, 200, and then it's gonna be long before you go IS.
Dude, I have none.
Really? No, I have ICS 100.
Maybe I do.
Major reset. The good news is, if things stay, yeah, is if things stay static. I should be good for Wednesday.
Well, and then we got you through the EMS class last year, so.
Oh, I'm good.
Well, we got you through as the AMS provider, so now. I'm gonna keep you as the instructor. And then,
They got all.
and then you're still ACL.
We'll take some
As
notes.
far as I know.
Yeah, that's.
Out of the station?
Got sent in.
Not out of the station. Because, station rule is regardless of what's going on at the station, school is always first.
Oh.
So it's like, if I'm in class, there could be freaking, someone could drop in a bomb and everyone from the station, I'm staying.
So.
So
We're probably gonna
Yeah.
get some guys
Yeah, that's
this
policy.
year for
Oh, that's.
classes since they've already got and
I was
everything.
gonna say.
Yeah, I was asking the same things about, fire academy. 'Cause they're like, you need to attend all your classes. I'm like, what if we have something going on at the station?
Yeah, so I was gonna say, they told me.
Yeah, and then I heard that. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah, you.
Oh, okay.
but yeah, no, we should be good.
It's a huge class. So they just went all
It's nice to see. We have one of our.
So the class goes like Monday.
Thursday.
Yeah.
We give it 3 weeks.
Exam three.
Sunday, Saturday, Sunday.
Those are all days. Yeah, but there shouldn't be too many.
Yo, that's. Huh?
I might already have to burn one of
We're
my
about to find
days.
out.
Because I have court.
It's 29.
28.
I got it.
Most ones not out.
No, there's only 28 on the roster. Nuh-uh.
Yeah, it's on its own. There's no price.
35 on the roster.
So I can go to court to get it.
Nuh-uh.
So I see that.
He's like,
Watch this.
Yeah. But I'm here. So it said, I don't know if it's speed check. Highway patrol.
Yeah, it's not always, but it occasionally they'll mark it, which is nice.
Yeah, he said they could do like 1,500 to like 1,000.
So they all.
Yeah, I have a red.
Oh, you know what?
No, fucking highway patrol, like from here to Medford is crazy. I'll see like 4 or 5 every time.
Yeah, I was moving like,
Yeah, which honestly, 10 over, they've never cared for me. And in fact, I've been
like 5 miles per hour.
really.
So that's gotta be one of the
Yeah,
weirdest.
that's whack. 'Cause, I've been passed by highway patrol. When I'm in the left going 80 and a 70, it's like I'll get passed by the patient. I'm like, it's like they're going 15 over minimum.
Yeah. Yeah, so the other day when I went to go for the training, not this past time, but like actually, I got pulled over and said I got shot. So I saw the street that I normally take to get to the station. I looked carefully to see where I could have possibly cut him off. So he's back. He's over there. There's a stop. It's a stop at the end street at the bottom. On his side too. He said he failed to yield. He tried to cut him up. And I checked.
What are we doing? This isn't what we're doing.
How did I feel?
It's kind of a little-
So
That's
like,
not what's on the schedule.
so I'm already stopped. I'm already stopped where
You know, he still got like
I'm already stopped.
3 years ago.
I'm already been
COVID
there for 2
policy.
seconds. He's still driving towards me.
And then,
So, like, I
you
go already.
know,
That's
he
the
copied and
number.
pasted right out of medic program. because you
Wait, does he have a stop sign on his
The
side
words
too?
on 2 or 3.
Oh, well then you don't need it. He needs to yield to you.
No, because it says, welcome to the medic program, a couple
Like,
spots.
he's still back there.
It's way deep. You gotta go way deep. I read the whole thing.
And then, the next one that we kind
Oh,
of.
yeah.
I know who you're talking
So
about.
these streets are kind of weird.
Yeah.
So like I'm on the left turning lane, but like I was like off to the side a little bit, so like the
So,
light.
Oh, you were off the sensor.
I was off.
On the
So, yeah.
schedule,
And so he got on it and then it turned green. And then when I started driving towards state, that's when he decided to leave. So like if anything, I can understand what's going off to the side of the head, but I did not cut him off.
Yeah, good.
I did not cut him off. I don't know where the hell you're doing.
He's just.
My cousin.
I said 5 after.
Sometimes I've had a cough, so
Yep, yep.
Yeah, that's my
Jumping the gun.
good thing. So this is my 4th, actually, it's my 4th
Even with your
offense. I've been pulled over really more.
For what? Yeah. Just
Got a couple.
2 of them were tags, so it's like,
tags.
One that was.
I already had to fix the ticket, so the second one was just me showing him. Be like, hey, I'm getting tickets right now, I stopped.
So you have the permit for it, right?
So like, it was whatever. Both times, it was just like, hey, good morning. And then the other, I have a very flat foot, especially when I'm driving. Yeah, my project. It's an 85.
Oh, yes.
That.
I was right downstairs.
Yeah, I was like, and then swap to VA. She needs to go. I didn't do it for this one, but I want to. I'm gonna. I mean, that's fine. It could be
Exam 2, which is.
pretty bad, probably.
You're going back to the station.
Because I'm still on standby. I have someone covering me. I don't remember. There's a volunteer that I've never met. She works here.
I'm so hungry. I'm gonna march so hard right now. there's nobody at the station, and no issues for me, because they're all out of strike this week, so they're going till like Thursday. Fire sale.
I recorded it.
Yeah.